Coming up 2 days after Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt, the Republican National Convention begins.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Just days after surviving an assassination attempt, former President Donald J. Trump is officially the Republican nominee for president. It's the third time in a row he's been the GOP pick. On day one of the Republican National Convention, Trump named Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, a man with Eastern Kentucky ties, as his running mate. CBS's Natalie Brand is at the convention in Milwaukee.
With his ear bandaged, former President Donald Trump made a surprise appearance on night one of the RNC, once again pumping his fist in the air. Earlier, he announced Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his presidential running mate after months of suspense and speculation.
I love that J.D. is young. You know, my father built Trump Tower at 37. You can be young and accomplished.
Vance was a harsh critic of Trump during his White House run back in 2016, but now he's one of his most vocal defenders in Congress. He's also known for his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, about growing up in poverty. What does he bring to the ticket?
He understands what working people go through from his background, and he will be a tremendous advocate for Donald Trump and Donald Trump's agenda.
Monday night session is focused on the economy, with speakers ranging from lawmakers to everyday Americans, including this single mother.
I know Americans can relate when I say that every time I fill up my gas tank, go to the grocery store, and try to pay the bills, I think, who doesn't miss the Trump days? Monday's keynote speaker is Teamsters Union Chief Sean O'Brien. Earlier Monday, delegates made Trump's nomination official with the roll call of states. Supporters still processing Saturday's shooting. How do you think the tone changes this week, given Saturday's attempted assassination?
I think it's changed it a great deal, and especially because they tried to assassinate him, and he's still coming back fighting.
Delegates say this week they want to hear a message of unity. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
J.D. Vance gives his acceptance speech on Wednesday, and President Trump accepts the nomination on Thursday. Well, J.D. Vance has ties to Eastern Kentucky. He was born and raised in Middletown, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, but his mother's family was from Breathitt County in Eastern Kentucky. He says he visited the Jackson area often growing up and even said recently he wants to be buried in Eastern Kentucky. He wrote about the common Appalachian migration to the north in his best-selling book, Hillbilly Elegy. That book was loved by some and hated by some. Vance served in the Marine Corps and has a law degree from Yale. Congressman Hal Rogers voiced his support for Trump's VP pick, saying in part, quote, "The Trump-Vance ticket is the unequivocal America First choice to lead this great nation to victory. Senator Vance's experience as a U.S. Marine with Appalachian roots is a winning combination to represent every corner of America, including our rural region and our beloved veterans." We have learned new information today about the 20-year-old shooter accused of trying to kill former President Trump. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks went to a gun range near Pittsburgh in the days before the shooting, and just hours ahead of the rally, he bought a box of ammunition for his father's AR-style rifle. Still, no word on a motive, even though investigators have cracked the gunman's cell phone. CBS News has learned the Secret Service did not sweep the building the shooter used to fire on the former president. Even though it had a direct line of sight to the stage, it was outside the security perimeter. One person in the crowd was killed, 2 others critically injured. Kentucky Congressman James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, announced a hearing with the U.S. Secret Service director on the assassination attempt will be held next Monday. It's been nearly 2 years since President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden were in Eastern Kentucky after the July 2022 flood. WYMT's Caroline Mueller spoke with people in the area today who saw some of the security precautions taken during that visit.
President Biden and the First Lady joined Governor Andy Beshear and First Lady Brittany Beshear to tour areas that saw the most damage from the flood. Jared Knoebel was helping with flood cleanup when the president arrived in Breathitt County.
We were on lookout all day, and we saw a couple of Secret Service cars and different Secret Service agents. We talked to a couple of them, didn't get a whole lot out of them.
While the Secret Service did not tell them much, Knoebel says the agents had more questions for her and others in the area.
They were just asking a lot of questions. Have you seen any odd people come through? Have you seen people in the woods? So they were asking a lot of our staff if we had seen different people, just to be safe and be on the safe side.
She says it felt like a scene out of the movies.
It's always, they're super covered, there's a ton of people around them, and it was about that much, but we're from Lost Creek, so we don't see anything like that. It was pretty cool, but also kind of overwhelming, because it was like what you see on TV and what you see everywhere else, but it was just like in our backyard.
While these protocols may seem cinematic, they are real and they are necessary, as we saw at the Pennsylvania Trump rally. Officials with the Breathitt County Sheriff's Office say the Secret Service arrived days in advance, scanning the area with helicopters, searching for potential dangers. In Breathitt County, Caroline Mueller, WYMT Mountain News.
We are told everyone who attended President Biden's visit were required to have a background check. 25 years ago in 1999, another sitting U.S. president visited the mountains. President Bill Clinton visited Jackson County and Hazard for his New Markets Initiative tour. Former Hazard Police Chief Minor Allen was captain at the time of the visit and says several agencies worked together to ensure the safety of the president by closing roadways.
You know, when he came to Hazard, you know, he flew into the airport down there, and Kentucky State Police met him, and they shut down actual Highway 15 as he came into town and to the downtown area. And so no vehicles were moving anywhere in the vicinity.
Allen says they began preparations for the president a long time before he made his way to the mountains, making sure rooftops, mountainsides, and buildings were all clear. The classified documents case against former President Donald Trump has been thrown out. In a 93-page ruling, Judge Aline Cannon granted the defense motion over concerns special counsel Jack Smith was illicitly appointed. Smith was prosecuting the former president on 37 counts in this case, including the willful retention of national defense secrets in connection to documents held at his Mar-a-Lago estate. On social media, Trump wrote today, dismissal of the Florida documents case should be the first step, and that other cases against him should be quickly dismissed.
This is day 4 with temperatures in the 90s. We were in the mid-90s to be exact. Take a look at the numbers for today. Made it to 95 in Hazard as well as Jackson. That 95 tied the record set back in 1988. And again, we hit that in 1995. 96 was the high in Irvine, 95 Somerset, and London 94 in Monticello. So take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar. All is clear at this hour. This will get a break as we go into the next several hours, but rain and thunderstorm chances will start to pick up starting tomorrow. We have a mixture of sun and clouds out there. Temperatures very mild for 11 o'clock. We're at 84 in Prestonsburg, 81 Irvine, 82 Moorhead, 81 Somerset, 79 in Hazard, 75 in Jonesville. Now, there's already a heat advisory just to the west of us until tomorrow at 9 p.m. You can see the areas right there shaded in pink. This is something that we'll have to monitor as we go into the next several hours. Overnight lows in the upper 60s and low 70s, mid 70s towards Jackson as well as Prestonsburg. But there is a cool down coming. I'll tell you when in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. Floyd County officials are working with FAHI, preparing for disaster recovery housing assessments. Last week, Governor Andy Beshear announced plans for an event to be hosted at the Floyd County Community Center Thursday. The disaster recovery housing intake invites people impacted by the 2022 flooding to speak with FAHI officials to find out if they qualify to apply for one of the new builds at the planned New Hope Estate subdivision on Cliffside Road in Prestonsburg.
We want to encourage folks, not only folks here in Floyd County, but surrounding counties as well that may have an interest in these particular sites. Looks like we're going to have anywhere between 40 to 50 homes.
The event will take place Thursday from 2 to 6 p.m. at the Floyd County Community Center in Langley. More than 200 bills passed during the 2024 legislative session are now officially state law. Some went into effect on July 1st. The rest became statutory law today. Kelsey Soto takes a look at some of the bigger and more notable measures.
A new Guardians program is being implemented in the Commonwealth. It allows some veterans and former police officers to serve in schools. Senate Bill 2, sponsored by Senator Max Wise, also calls on districts to create trauma-informed teams to improve mental health interventions. Then there's Senate Bill 20. Teens who are between 15 and 18 years old that are charged with violent offenses involving a gun will now be tried as adults. Long-range drivers might see some relief with Senate Bill 46. Senator Greg Elkins of Winchester sponsored this legislation, which gives motorists permission to tint the entire front windshield of their vehicle. 70% of light must still be able to pass through. This will put Kentucky in line with federal safety standards and does not allow for red or yellow tinting material. 12 and 13-year-olds will be able to be employed by nonprofits thanks to Senate Bill 128. The bill's sponsor says it will help teach them life and employment skills. Organizations will need to get approval from the state, and teens cannot work more than 18 hours a week. Cursive, now a requirement in elementary schools. Senate Bill 167 states teachers must ensure that students are proficient in cursive handwriting by the end of 5th grade. In the other chamber, House Bill 378 changes the official state rock to coal. Every student bus rider and at least one of their parents must now sign a transportation agreement with their school district, according to House Bill 446. It would explain any consequences for misbehavior. House Bill 30 creates a suicide prevention program for service members, veterans, and their families. And more oversight for parents with House Bill 174. Guardians will have access to their child's medical records. Currently, those 13 and older must sign a waiver for their parents to get access.
Childhood immunization rates continue to fall even after the pandemic. According to the World Health Organization and United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, the rate of immunizations dropped during COVID in a, quote, historic backslide, but has yet to recover. Worldwide vaccination coverage was at 84% in 2023, the same as in 2022, but fell short of the 86% recorded in 2019. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, friends and family gather to celebrate heroes in their community, honoring more than a dozen World War II veterans.
And tomorrow will be day 5 of temperatures in the 90s, but if you're sick and tired of the 90s, I have some great news for you. That detail's coming up in a few minutes. Stay with us.